It's an icy 7 o'clock in the morning in Goro, and the harbor here on the Po Delta is draped in a thick fog. For Vadis Paesanti, that doesn't make setting out any easier.
You try to navigate by orienting yourself to certain landmarks. But on mornings like this, when the fog, which we call caligo, is so thick, it makes navigating difficult. Very difficult.
His father fished the Adriatic before him, but today, Vadis harvests clams, vongole. Where and how much they can net changes every day.
In the evening, we get a message from the cooperative telling us what zone we can fish, when we can set out, and when we have to return, and how much we can bring ashore.
They glide for a half an hour through the silent lagoon. Then suddenly, the quiet ends. The clam fishers appear from the fog like ghosts. 1,500 men and women work the Goro Lagoon. Vadis finally reaches his assigned zone. It's not deep, but it is cold.
It's the only way to warm up your hands when they're cold.
Clam fishing is more like farming the seabed than traditional fishing. The Goro fishers harvest almost 14,000 tons of mollusks each year.
Today we can all harvest 30 kilos.
They suck the mollusks out of the sand with a special device. The water is 6 degrees Celsius, just right for winter. But in recent years, the temperature has stayed around 11 degrees Celsius. Climate change is also affecting the Po Delta.
We observe the effects of climate change here when the sea level changes, when the Scirocco wind blows, or during the phases of the moon. We also see the effect of climate change when we find fish, mollusk, and crab species that we've never seen here before.
That's why clam farming is important, he says, to help protect the climate.
The shells are made of calcium carbonate, which is just captured carbon dioxide.
At the University of Ferrara, Professor Elena Tamburini has authored a study on the impact of mussels on the climate. It confirms the Goro fishers' argument.
As they grow, mollusks form a shell, and that captures CO2. If I harvest a kilo of clams, the CO2 emitted for their commercial use is much less than the CO2 captured by the clam shells as they grow. That's the surprising thing.
In the lagoon, the Goro fishers now farm a dozen mollusk species over 10 square kilometers. 7 years ago, Vadis and the other fishers launched another climate-friendly project, farming oysters from the Mediterranean using the tides.
We're the only oyster producers in Italy. Now it's low tide, and these baskets with the young oysters are hanging in the air and the sun. When the tide comes in, this entire zone will be flooded. Very nice. They're from 2020.
The fishers call their oysters golden Goro and sell them to top chefs all over Italy. But above all, Vadis loves one thing about his work.
It's that sense of freedom. You follow the ebb and flow of the tides and the phases of the moon. You're part of this beautiful world, our world, the Po Delta.
Preserving this world and ensuring its future, for Vadis and the fishers of Goro, it's their life's work.